Welcome to Comics in the Making. My name is Ryan Holgerson. I'm the creator of Slackmatic, and I'm joined, as always, by Levi Erickson, the creator of The Big. Levi, how you doing?
Hey, it's good to see you, man.
Yeah.
I guess that doesn't answer
So,
your question. I mean, I'm doing as well as I've done the last bunch of days. So
yeah, yeah. See our video about our thoughts about Ed Piskor and his passing. But it's been a rough week for a lot of people in the comics community. And I've noticed a lot of people uh felt the same way as us as far as, grieving without having really had that, quote unquote personal connection with Ed. And I think I said it in the video, but this was someone that came into our lives on a daily, weekly basis, and shared our passion for comics. So we all felt like we knew him,
yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, when you spend that kind of time with someone, when they make themselves available through a video or whatever, and you get those weekly, daily doses of them presenting whatever it is that they do. I mean, you notice it, and it's. I mean, we said it in the video already, so
yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
No, but the good news is for us, I think we're ready to get back to it.
yeah.
Uh, you know, I felt like I started coming out of the, whatever the malaise was yesterday. I'm looking forward to getting back to creating, shooting videos. Uh, I realized that I released a story last week, and I never did a video for it. Um, and so I might, get that together at some point. Uh, on top of how we were feeling this past week, I also my allergies were killing me. So there was like no way I was going to be able to film any kind of video at the early part of last week. I was dying.
Yeah,
Um,
tis the season. But
oh
yeah, I just so everyone kind of knows, like, so we shot the video last week, and that was the first time you and I had spoken for a week, other than texting back and forth, definitely
yeah,
around the events of those days. So we shot last Sunday, and we didn't pregame. We just jumped on and just put it out, put our feelings out there. And then, during the taping of shows, we'll talk before, we'll talk after. We talked for over 2 hours
yeah,
after we wrapped that video, mainly kind of just, you know, saying what we said already, maybe saying some things that we didn't necessarily want to put out to the entire world. And then somewhere, all of a sudden, we're talking about our comics, and I had ideas around the big, and now we started to go over that stuff, and then I don't know if it was you or me, but we stopped ourselves and said, "Hey, do you realize we're starting to talk about comics again?"
yeah,
And I think that was sort of the beginning for me of getting the headspace realigned. And Saturday was a work day for me, uh as far as the big goes. I got in here Saturday morning and started working on this, which is going to be a cover, and I'm going to finish it today. So
nice.
so I'm it's for me personally, it's ready, time to go back at it. That's what we're here for.
Right, right. And I think still not having known Ed personally,
Mhm.
that's what he would want,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
He loved comics. He loved seeing people do comics and make comics, make more comics, you know?
Right.
So that's what we're going to do. So as we were, talking about comics, so, and this will kind of get us into our actual subject for today. Uh, I think for you, the wheels started turning, and at the end of our talk, you were like, "What do you think about quitting
Yeah.
or changing direction with a project, either one?" And and I'll let you talk to this because this was you, but you know, I definitely have something to say about it too. But kind of walk me through, or walk all of us through, what your thought process was with that, and how it involves the big, which is your, main project right now.
Yeah. And so the idea of quitting didn't come from a place of, oh, horrible, stuff happened in comics and, I don't want, want anymore. Um, it wasn't that. It was more of a place of like, not to say it's necessarily about either one of us, but it could be down the, years down the line. And if you turn around and you go, I'm kind of banging, you know, on the same door that's, not opening, I'm flogging this dead horse. Um, and it's, it's not getting back up, you do I keep doing it? You know, we've heard other cartoonists, kind of, speak their feelings about, well, I've been doing this for 30 years and, no one's looking at my stuff. No one cares about my comics. Okay. I mean, and sadly that's the case sometimes. What you're putting your effort in to create just may not hit on the level that you're hoping for. And we can parallel this with music and bands as we often do. Um, you know, so it's like, do you keep doing the exact same thing? And I don't mean making big creative changes necessarily. That might be part of it. But do you keep doing the exact same thing the exact same way? Or do you go, hey, you know, how do I reach the audience? If the audience is there, you know, how do I reach them? And I got to analyzing my own stuff. So I was really excited. You know, I had the chapter one, the 12 pager, the first 12 pages of what I called issue number one. And that's available on Etsy. And that, that's been out for, over a year now. I finished the other half of it. I was excited, compiled them, 22-page comic book, sent off to the printer, and I got my, 6.5 whatever by 10 floppy. And I was so excited to have my comic floppy in my hands. And then I go, dude, I gotta, but I have to keep moving to do the next one and the next one. Um, and it's just a monumental task when you're doing all the creative process yourself. So as we were talking kind of on the subject, I'm like, why do I feel like I'm married to this standard decades old format of comic books? You know? Why do I think that that has to be the way to go? It's cool. I grew up with them, most of the comics I consume are in that format, but do they have to be? And then I think about your books and the various formats that you do. I think about the superhero comic books and the cool like zine styles that they do, you know. I mean, a lot of our creators that we respect a lot, they do some different stuff. Um, so I think you kind of coached it out of me a little bit. It's like, yeah, why don't you just split it in, chapter one, chapter two, and keep them in the digest size, 10, 12, 16-page story instead of that 22, 24 pager. So that's the plan going forward with the big. I sold a couple dozen of the issue number ones at the Matthews convention. But that's what that cover I just showed is for. That is going to be the number two. So I'm going to split that book, the second chapter, that's chapter two, and I'm going to keep going from there. And then maybe every two I'll collect into that normal floppy size. But I was like, yeah, man, mix it up, you know,
Yeah.
and do something that's a little bit different. And if you want to get businessy about it, I mean, you talk about price point, and you talk about um, now instead of having one comic, I have two, you know. Um, so it just makes sense, and it I got really excited when I thought about that, when we talked, when you talked it out of me, because I do give you credit for kind of like, you know, going, yeah, man, do something different. Don't be married to that, that time honored, floppy format.
Yeah. I think what I said was, what's stopping you? When you were, because it was all you. And I just said, well, just then what's stopping you? Uh, and I think we could kind of reference our episode on the benefits of being small with this. When you're a smaller quote unquote creator, you don't have anything to lose by switching it up and trying something new. And excuse me, what's the definition of insanity? It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you said, do you continue to beat that dead horse and expect that you're going to have, something different happen? Uh, so I came to this conclusion uh, uh, at the beginning of this year. So I had been doing Audrey and Dad stories, as I'll call them. It's Slackmatic, whatever. I don't know. My branding is weird, guys. But I had been doing Audrey and Dad stories for years. And I think starting in 22, 21, 22, I can't quite remember. But I started doing these longer stories and I would serialize them online on my social media and stuff like that as the stories went. So I might release a page or 2 pages or whatever as a update. And I would have moments where one might do okay, and then but then I might release the next page and the algorithm would just eat it up and nothing. So I might have somebody that was interested in the story, but just because of the way the internet works, they might never see that again. Maybe they didn't hit follow. I didn't make enough of an impression on that one page to where they were like, yeah. And so I thought about this for a while and said, well, maybe I need to release stories all at once. Just as I would if I were printing them and release them online and go, hey, the story's done. Here you go.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a 10-page story. Here's a 20-page story. And I'll be honest, when I really committed to it at the end of last year, because I had been working with these characters for years at that point and hadn't really seen a huge I would say like increase in my following or sales or whatever. I said, well, I'm going to try this. And if it doesn't work, then maybe I need to reevaluate what I'm doing. And maybe I need to start another series. Maybe I need to think about that. I love working with these characters. I love that I've developed them. I love where I'm going. but at the same time, why continue to beat that dead horse? And I just had a sort of suspicion that it just might work if I did this. And that first story that I released on Reddit was Bloody Larry back in was December, early December last year. And it did, you know, like 500,000 views. It did over 10,000 upvotes. Now, not all of my stories do that on there, but I have seen in the last 3 months of doing this consistently that I've seen enough of an uptick in my followers and my sales and the engagement that no, this is the way to go.
Yeah.
And it's not just Reddit, it's also Instagram, it's Facebook, uh it's just been a total I don't want to say 180. It's not like I went from, this being a hobby to this being a living. I'm still in that pro-am or amateur spot, but it has been a huge difference. Um, I really feel if I had not done that, if I continued to release these stories on a page by page, I think I'd be right where I was 2 years ago. I don't think there would be any difference.
Right.
And all it took was that delivery system because the stories read different when
Yeah.
you're reading them all at once and you're not like, all right, this is page 4. What happened on page 1? Um,
Yeah.
but to what you're speaking of with that nostalgia for the comic book size, for that 24-page, you know, 6.5 by 10.5 size, and that's a comic book. That's what we think of as a comic book.
Yeah.
Um, and for you to come to the realization that, well, that doesn't mean anything. Uh,
Yeah.
I was thinking the same way when it comes to web comics, and web comics haven't been around nearly as long, but 25 years of web comics have said, well, we release these stories one page at a time. We
Mhm.
serialize this. And it doesn't have to be that way.
No, yeah. Yeah. And it's a small tweak like that might be all it takes, if you're frustrated as a creator and you feel like you're not getting anywhere. Um, just like taking a little bit of self, you know, like examination and finding those small things. Because what did it do? What did you have to do to release a whole story rather than one page? How far out did that put you? Not at all.
Uh,
You just
no,
had to make them, which you were going
no,
to do anyways.
no. And honestly, well, I don't want to say it's easier. Uh, I mean, I'm producing more than I've ever produced before in my life.
Mhm.
Um, but really, like my average story is 7 to 8 pages. And if I'm releasing a story a week, that's a page or page and a half a day.
Mhm.
It's the same. All I
Yeah,
did was change the reading experience
you
for
improved on
that.
it.
Yeah. Um, and hey, if you want to read them one page at a time, patreon.com/slackmatic. You can get my pages as soon as they go up. I put it all up there. Um, but even on Patreon, when I have a story done, because sometimes it goes through various edits and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um, Usually at the end, when I'm done, I re-release it on Patreon as a complete, and I put it all in one post.
Yep.
So the point though, I think of all of this is if you're, the point isn't, oh, you're doing a full-size comic book, then you should do a digest and do a smaller page count. Oh, you're doing a web comic, so now you should release your story all at once. That's not actually the point of what
Yeah.
what we're saying. The point is, if you're creating something and you don't feel like you're quite hitting the audience that you want, or something's not working, step back and analyze it,
Hmm.
and really, and it can be tough because you're
Yeah.
really having to be critical. Do your best to look at it with the eyes of a reader, because that's what you want. You want a reader. Look at it through their eyes, and what do you see that it's missing? You
Yeah,
know?
exactly. And it's, to piggyback on that, little, self, exposure here. I tend to binge like bar rescue when I'm drawing. And so the dude, Tom, whatever his name is, I think it's Tom or John, whatever, the bar rescue guy. So that's in my algorithm, and him doing an interview, and he says, and however many hundreds of shows they've shot in bars they've done. He goes, not one single owner, when I say what is the problem with your place, not one single owner has ever said it's me.
Yeah.
They've always pointed the finger at something else. It's either I got a bad manager, right? Or this city sucks, or whatever. And getting back to kind of what sparked this topic, some of our peers maybe who are in that camp, and they're frustrated, and I feel the frustration. I get it. But I think a lot of them are coming from sort of a place of entitlement, and they're like, what is wrong with the comic book audience for not falling in love with my comic book and continuing, to give the same thing? Now, I'll say, if you're stoked on what you're doing, and you're thinking about drawing your thing, and when those boxes come from the printer and you rip them open and you pull out your latest, edition, and you're just super jazzed to have that in your hands, and there it is, then do you, you know? And that's the space. Good luck. But if you're going through that, and it's bringing you down, it's it's not the audience, Um,
Yeah.
it's not the audience. Yeah, the big gets rolling and no one gives a shit. That's my fault, you know. And I get to decide whether or not I want to keep doing it for the sake of doing it or not. Same thing with a band, you want to be in a band, no one shows up to your gigs. If you can keep getting gigs and you're happy with it, keep doing it. If people aren't showing up, figure out why.
Right.
Maybe you're booking at
Well,
the wrong place, playing the wrong towns, playing the.
yeah. And to that, when we talk about quitting, if you're, what's if you're upset that no one's reading your stuff, no one's ordering your stuff, no one's paying attention to you, and you're not quitting, I mean, there, and I think part of it is personal pride,
Yeah.
is, a lot of people, they want to finish that thing. But, you know, I think there is something about, if you're screaming into the void and you're just pushing on because of a some sort of personal pride, which I get
Mhm.
it. But I don't think you should be hard on yourself
No.
for quitting. And if no one's reading it anyway, no one's going to look down on you for quitting.
Well,
you know,
it,
come back with something else, rework it. Why isn't it working? Maybe it is a good story. You're just telling it wrong, you know,
yeah,
and maybe you just need to rework it, But I think I'm so excited for you uh coming to this, whether you continue to do it this way or not, putting
Mhm.
these books out in smaller uh bite-sized chunks, uh you know uh I'd always, I'd want to push you to put it out online. That, and that's just because
Hey,
that's what I do,
the
you
entire
know?
22 pages of the big, issue number one is on Patreon, Comics in the Making Patreon.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And just an aside, um, the Comics in the Making Patreon right now, it just feeds me. So if you want to support us both, you got to get on Slackmatic. And I would recommend doing that first because there's a lot more content over on that Patreon. But just understand that Comics in the Making Patreon, I created before Ryan came into the thing. So if you become a patron, yay, thank you. But give Ryan some love too. Probably give him love first.
Mine's mine's cheaper too. I'm just mine's cheaper and there's more content. But hey, but
We'll
I
see
want you
about
to
that.
I
Open.
want you yeah. I want you to support us both. For
So
sure.
yeah, anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, bring us, get us out of the dish, Ryan.
uh Uh, no, anyway, going back to what I was saying before,
Yeah,
I'm really excited to see what this new format could mean for you going forward.
hmm
And really the reason I'm excited is because I can tell you're excited. And I think that means so much. But being able to put out, you've been talking about trying to put out, the second full issue or whatever by June. Uh Doing it this way to where technically you'll be putting out your third issue
hmm
by June. It's just from a, you know, energizing artist ego standpoint, it's going to help you to do that, to
right.
where you can look through a year's process of work and say, I put out 5 issues instead of, well, I put out 2.5, you know.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be really good for you. And I think I said in the conversation that sparked this, you're going to get that much more experience designing covers, doing
yeah,
pre-press, just doing those little things that in the long run, it's going to be better for you.
yeah, yeah.
You know, because those are big things, designing and pre-press and stuff like that. That's something I don't think we talk about enough.
Right,
Um,
right. Could be an episode.
yeah,
Could be part of
yeah,
an episode. The
right.
technical stuff. And in this day, like print on demand is so accessible, um, and so easy. But there are still things. Some companies make it easier than others to get your stuff to them, so you get back the product that you want. So I mean, and some people just, gosh, I don't know.
Yeah,
And not knowing is what holds a lot of people back. So we're talking about kind of like getting frustrated and thinking about leaving what you like doing, um, based on whatever your expectations are. But then there are also people who would love to do this, but they just don't realize that they can.
yeah,
My daughter made a film for school. She had to make a film for, a film project, and she's never messed with any of that stuff. And we spent about a week going different places. I mean, she did all the work, all the pre-work, plot, little story, and we storyboards, and we scouted locations, and we filmed some B-roll, and put the whole thing together, and taught her the basics of Premiere Pro. And she's got a pretty dang good little 3-minute kind of fun movie. And she told me, she's 17, and she's goes to art school and stuff. She goes, I didn't realize that you could just do that.
yep,
And that's what I think holds so many people back from getting into something that they love, picking up a guitar, um, you know, trying to make a product of whatever. They see the stuff. If they're like me or like you, I can't just like things. I can't just go, hey, I like that. and I'm gonna watch that thing. I'm like, let me play, let me in. I want to do that. Every damn thing I have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but I think there's a lot of people, even in this day and age with accessible technology, a lot more resources to show you how to do things. They're just like, you can't just make your own little movie. You need all kinds of stuff. No, you don't. You know, I can't make a comic book. I don't even know how to draw. Okay, start drawing.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know?
and yeah, and I don't know when it was, but at some point in my life, I think it was guitar because I taught myself guitar. I started playing when I was like 18 years old. So looking at it now, that's like pretty young, but I think for a lot of people that learn, that's probably a little older. Uh, but I didn't start playing shows till I was like 29. And so, but that was all stuff that I taught myself. I taught myself guitar without even really thinking about it. It was like it started off with just plunking around, and then all of a sudden it was I'm in a band, and I look and it just kind of hit me like I know how to play guitar. I didn't even realize I'm doing it. I'm doing it now,
Yeah.
And that has it's carried over into so many other aspects of my life. Different art software that I've taught myself, Photoshop, Clip Studio, Procreate, where, these are things I came in not knowing anything
Yeah.
about. And, I remember thinking the same thing with Photoshop after, a few months of doing it. I go, oh, I know how to do this now.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff
Uh,
that you don't even know that you are going to start finding out about. You think, oh, that's what those people that do that over there use. Next thing
yeah,
you're 9 months down the road and you're getting pretty
right.
proficient at it.
No, but well, yeah, and and I feel like my most recent uh venture is with you and this channel, and filming solo vids, and learning how to edit. And I've started off, I when I do my stuff, I'm doing it all in fucking iMovie on my iPad, and I'm editing and stuff. Well, as I've gotten quote unquote better, and I've wanted to do more stuff, now I'm like, okay, I think I'm gonna have to get Adobe Premiere. I think I'm gonna have to get that because I want to learn how to do all this stuff.
Yeah,
But that's how me and Levi are, where we're like, oh, we just want to learn. We want to soak this up.
yeah,
We want
yeah.
to do it. Um, if you're out there and you're listening to this and you're on the fence, I'm going to tell you right now, just this how we end every show. Just do the damn thing.
That's
Go
exactly
out
it.
there and try it. That's how you're going to learn. And you've got absolutely nothing to lose.
Yeah, That's
So
that's the that's the key. That's the cherry on top. What are you gonna lose? That's what you said to me. What's stopping you?
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, nothing. So Levi, we got like 5 minutes
Yeah.
left. You just mentioned the big. Where can people pick that up and
You
read
can
it?
pick it up. The mini comic is available on my Etsy. That's going to be chapter one. Mega size, 12-page comic book, $4 shipped to you. And issue two will be dropping as soon as I finish this cover and get it over to printing. That is the second chapter. It's compiled in the full size floppy. Like I said, about 2 dozen of them escaped at the Matthews Comic Con, and that will be part of a bundle, going forward at other conventions that we're doing this year. So, and then chapter three is in progress, and it's close to half done. So
Awesome,
hopefully that will be available by this June for some of those bigger summer conventions.
awesome.
How about you, bud?
So for me, I've got The Egg. This
Yeah.
is 24 pages, black and white. I have it on my Etsy shop, which there's a link below for that. Like we mentioned earlier in the show, I also have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/slackmatic. It's only $2 a month. You get all of my stuff as soon as I put it out. Within minutes, I put pages. I'll be putting a page up here in probably an hour or so because I'm almost done. Um, but that either one of those things are great ways to support me. Um, and we have a show coming up. Uh, we have Queen City Zine Fest coming up May 4th in Rock Hill, South Carolina. It's going to be at the Council of Arts Department. I think it's a courtroom. I believe
I bet you it's the courtroom. Yeah.
yeah, no, it's that same building. Um,
Okay,
but
cool.
come see us there. We're going to be sitting together. I should have a new book by then. Um, collecting all of my comics from January. But I've done Queen City Fest before when they actually had it in Charlotte, and it was a lot of fun. And we're looking forward to doing it again. This will be your
Absolutely.
first one, I believe, right?
Yep, my first one at that one, and a couple weeks later in the same town, and really just about a block and a half away, we will be at the York County Library for LibraryCon.
Yep.
And that's an event that they've invited us to the last, this will be the third year in a row. It's a fun time. It's on Saturday this year rather than Friday night. So it's going to go, I believe, from 1 to 6 p.m., but we'll have links towards that as well. Um, and then, um, and then we got some shows coming up later on this summer, and we will divulge those as details become available. And that, I think, covers us for this week, man.
Yeah. So I already said it, but I'm going to say it again. Just do the damn thing.
Absolutely.